We were having trouble getting translation, so I'm not sure if that's working yet. We're very apologetic because this stuff was all set up and simply is not functioning as contemplated. So I guess one of the things we have to do is learn to be forgiving of each other. So as I was beginning to say, we recommended that the African Union become a formal member of the G20, and we're glad to report that this recommendation has been accepted. Admittedly, more because some major powers supported the recommendation, and perhaps even more because it was an idea whose time had fully come. To the extent, one of the things that this does is it makes it possible for this year for us in this African context to gather insights and recommendations that can be passed on to the overall G20 summit globally. This involves communication to power countries on earth, and we're thankful to have the opportunity to engage in policy making that will help address some of the key problems that we have on earth. Now, as organizers, we're conscious of time limitations that we face. Our hope is that everyone will be conscious of the need to use time efficiently and to concentrate on practical ideas and recommendations from religious voices that can be fed into the broader G20 policymaking process. To the extent that you have individually and as groups that you have ideas that you believe deserve greater attention and development, we hope you will share those ideas here, and to the extent time is insufficient, we encourage you to write down your recommendations and send them to us. You can send them to secretariat@g20interfaith.org. We hope this time can be a time of building and strengthening relationships as all of us work together to identify initiatives that can have significant practical effects. We seek not only ideas, but ideas with impact. As G20 interfaith leaders, we are conscious of a number of priority areas that are already emerging. For example, broader engagement with emerging food crises, pursuing successful programs on climate and other environmental concerns, advancing multi-religious work on peace building, which is particularly significant in these days, addressing moral calls on debt relief, bold action to end human trafficking, and finding ways to mitigate the refugee and displaced persons crises. Now, these are just a few of the many issues that we as a global community and as the African world face. You may urge identification of other priority issues. You may have practical ideas about how some of the foregoing can be better addressed. You may have a clearer African perspective on these needs. We are in need not only of brainstorming, but of deeper policy research that will extend into coming weeks and months. We urge you to find effective ways to help us and others have genuine impact on priority needs. As a core of this process, we need not only to identify specific policy priorities, but in addition, it is vital to help global leaders understand that engagement with faith communities is itself an essential priority that holds the key to furthering countless other objectives. Thank you so much for joining with us in this enterprise. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Cole, for your call on the moral calls for Africa to be a better place, and we look forward to the research to reset our policies right.
Thank you, Professor Cole. በጣም እናመሰግናለን። የጂ20 ኢንተርፌስ ፎረም አሶሲዬሽን ፕሬዝዳንት ናቸው። ይሄን ፕሮግራም ወደዚህ ወደ አዲስ አበባ እንዲመጡ ከኛ ተቋም ጋር በቅርብ እየተነጋገርን ፈቅደው እንዲመጣ ያደረጉ እሳቸው ናቸው። አንድ ያመስግኑልኝ። እናመሰግናለን ፕሮፌሰር። ከዚህ በመቀጠል በፕሮግራም ላይ የተወሰነ ለውጥ አድርገናል። ስለዚህ አሁን ከዚህ ቀጥሎ የአፍሪካ ህብረት ተወካይ ንግግር እንዲያደርጉ በአክብሮት እንጋብዛለን።
So we are changing a little bit the program where we are having the representative from the African Union to come and share with us.
Good morning. I'm going to stand on existing protocols. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I bring you warm greetings on behalf of His Excellency Musa Faki Mahamat, Chairperson of the African Union Commission, and the Citizens and Diaspora Directorate. It is my utmost pleasure to have you all here as we celebrate the Golden Rule Day together in commemorating World Interfaith Harmony Week. Today, we are gathered to honor and promote interfaith issues in Africa to foster peace, security, development, and preservation of the environment, as well as to counter hate speech and violent extremism. Last year, we had these inaugural celebrations at the African Union Complex, and one of the recommendations was to have the AU as a member of the G20. It pleases me to inform you that as of last year, the AU is a proud member of the G20 family. I am heartened Thank you. I am heartened by the progress we have made, but I know that there is still much more work to be done. We live in a world that is too often divided by fear and misunderstandings, where differences are used as a wedge to separate people rather than a source of strength. I am confident that events like this can help us overcome these barriers as we discuss for the next 2 days. In conclusion, let us continue to seek out opportunities to build bridges of understanding between people of different faiths and cultures. Also, we should not forget that despite our differences, we are all members of the same human family, united by our common aspirations for a better world. Finally, I'm wishing all of us a fruitful deliberation and hope our recommendations will be a reality for a better and more peaceful and harmonious world. May peace prevail on earth. I thank you.
እናመሰግናለን። የአፍሪካ ህብረት ተወካይ ስላቀረቡልን መልእክት
Thank you, Sister Hazel, for those warm messages, and also the fact that now the AU is a full member of the G20. We now have heard from the organizers, and they've welcomed us. Thank you. Now you can settle and be, at home because you've been welcomed officially. But then we need to open this meeting officially as well. And we shall have the Minister of Peace, the State Minister of Peace of Ethiopia, doing that for us. Yes, so.
እናመሰግናለን። ሁላችሁም የያዛችሁት የድምጽ መተርጎሚያ መሳሪያ መስራት ጀምሯል። ስለዚህ አሁን መጠቀም ትችላላችሁ ማለት ነው። ከዚህ በመቀጠል የኢፌድሪ የሰላም ሚኒስቴር ሚኒስትር ዴኤታ የሆኑት ክቡር ዶክተር ኸይረዲን ተዘራ ወደ መድረኩ መጥተው የመክፈቻ ንግግር እንዲያደርጉ በታላቅ አክብሮት ጋብዛለሁ።
እንደምን አደራችሁ። ሰላም አለይኩም። ክቡራን የሃይማኖት ተቋማት ጉባኤ የበላይ ጠባቂዎች፣ እዚህ ፊት ለፊት የማያችሁ ታላላቅ አባቶች፣ ክቡር ቀሲስ ቱጋን ታጋይ የኢትዮጵያ ሃይማኖት ተቋማት ጉባኤ ዋና ጸሐፊ፣ ክቡር ፕሮፌሰር ኮል የጂ20 ኢንተርፌስ ፎረም አሶሲዬሽን ፕሬዚዳንት፣ ክብርት ኒኮል ስተርሊንግ የስተርሊንግ ፋውንዴሽን ምክትል ፕሬዚዳንት፣ ክቡራን አምባሳደሮች፣ ሚኒስትሮች፣ ታላላቅ የሃይማኖት አባቶች ከመላው ዓለም ለዚህ ታላቅ መድረክ እዚህ የሁላችንም የሰው ዘር መነሻ በሆነችው ኢትዮጵያ በተለይ ደግሞ የሁሉም አብርሃማዊ የሆኑ ሃይማኖቶች በጥንት ጀምራ የተቀበለች ጁዳይዝምን፣ ክርስትናን፣ እስልምናን ተቀበላ በሰላም ባኖረችና ያኖረች ባለች የመነሻችን የጥንታዊ ዓለም ታሪካችሁ ባለቤት እናት ወደ ሆነችው ውድ ኢትዮጵያ በሰላም መጣችሁ ማለት ፈልጋለሁ። Then I will deliver my speech first in Amharic than in English. I think you may allow me. ሰላም ትልቅ ሰላም ወሳኝ ነው። ለእናንተ መንገር አያስፈልግም። የሰላም ጉዳይ ላይ ሁላችንም ስንሰራ አሁን እዚህ የሁሉም እምነት ተወካዮች ባጭሩ መላው ዓለም በዚህ አዳራሽ ውስጥ እንገኛለን። ብዙ ነገር የሚያገናኝን ነገር አለ ማለት ነው። በተለይ ሃይማኖቶች ዋነኛ ስራቸው የወዳኛውን ዓለም በሰላም ለመግባት እዚህ ዓለም በሰላም በፍቅር አብሮ መኖር እንዳለብን እንደሚያስተምሩ ወርቃማው ሕግ ምን እንደሚል የሁሉም እምነቶች ላይ ከአብርሃማዊ እምነቶች ውጪ በሆኑትም ጭምር ይሄ ወርቃማው ሕግ እንዳለ ቀደም ሕፃናቶቹ አሳይተውናል። እንዲህ አይነት ጉዳዮች ወደፊት ከመጡ ሚኒስትሪም ካረግናቸው ዓለማችን የሰላም እሴት ግንባታና የሰላም መኖሪያ እንድትሆን የሚያስችላት በቂ ሀብት በቂ ፖቴንሻል አለን ማለት ነው። ስለዚህ እንዲህ አይነት ፎረሞች በዚህ መልኩ መገናኘታችንና የጋራ የሆኑትን የሚያገናኙን ጉዳዮችን የበለጠ ከሰራን እዚህ ላይ የተጠቀሱት የጥላቻ ንግግሮች፣ ሁከትና መጤጠልነት የሚሉ ዜኖፎቢክ የሆኑ ቴንደንሲዎች እንዲቀረፉ በማድረግ ደረጃ ላይ በተለይ የእምነት አባቶች በሁሉም ሀገር የምንገኝ የእምነት አባቶች ቁልፍ ሚና እንዳለን እንገነዘባለን። እኛ እንደ ሰላም ሚኒስቴር ኢትዮጵያ ሀገራችን ጥንታዊ የእምነት ሀገር መሆኗ ብቻ ሳይሆን አንዳንዶቹ እምነቶች ከዛም በዘለለ የየህዝቦቻችን የማንነት አካል እንደሆኑ ቁልፍ አድርገን በማመን ከእምነት ተቋማት ጋር የሰላም ሚኒስቴር በተለይ ከሃይማኖት ተቋማት ጉባኤ ጋር በጣም ተቀራርበን እየሰራን እንገኛለን። በቅርቡም ክቡር ጠቅላይ ሚኒስትር ዶክተር አብይ አህመድ ከሁሉም የእምነት አባቶች ጋር ተከታዮቻቸው ጋር በሰላም በሀገራዊ አንድነትና ወደፊት ኢትዮጵያ መድረስ ባለባት ቁልፍ አካታች የሆነ ብልጽግና ዙሪያ በማራቅ ሳይሆን በመቀራረብ የመንግስት ሚና ብቻ ሳይሆን የሁሉም የሃይማኖት አባቶችና የእምነት ተቋማት ሚና ነው በማለት ሰፊ ጊዜ ወስደው ውይይት አድርገው የጋራ መግባባት ተደርሶ በጋራ እየሰራን እንደሆነ በዚህ አጋጣሚ ለመግለጽ እወዳለሁ። ከዚህ በተጨማሪ ኢትዮጵያ ጥንታዊ ሀገር ናት። የኢትዮጵያ ኦርቶዶክስ ተዋሕዶ ቤተክርስቲያን በተለይ እምነቱ ከአራተኛው ክፍለ ዘመን ጀምሮ ኢትዮጵያ ውስጥ በሰላም ገብቶ የበርካታ ኢትዮጵያውያን የእምነት ብቻ ሳይሆን የማንነት አንዱ አካል ሆኖ እየሄደ ይገኛል። ጁዳይዝምም እንደዛው። እስልምና ነብዩ መሐመድ መካ ላይ እስልምና ከተነሳ በኋላ መዲና ሳይገባ ኢትዮጵያ ውስጥ የገባና ኢትዮጵያ ውስጥ በሰላም ገብቶ የኢትዮጵያውያን የማንነት መገለጫ ሆኖ ለረጅም ጊዜ የሆነ አብሮ እየሄደ ይገኛል። ስለዚህ ኢትዮጵያ እነዚህን ጥንታዊ እምነቶች ለእምነት መከታያ ብቻ ሳይሆን ሙዚየም ሆና እየጠበቀች ለቀጣዩ ጄኔሬሽን እያስተላለፈች ያለች ሀገር ጥንታዊ ሀገር መሆኗን በዚህ አጋጣሚ ለመግለጽ እንወዳለን። ነገር ግን ከመንግስትና ከሃይማኖት ያሉት ግንኙነቶች ከ1966 አካባቢ በኋላ ቢለያዩም ይሄንን መርህ ባለው መልኩ እንዴት አብሮ መስራት አለብን፣ እንዴት አብሮ መሄድ አለብን ከማለት አኳያ የሰላም ሚኒስቴር መንግስት በሰጠው አቅጣጫ መነሻነት ከእምነት አባቶች ጋር በጋራ በመሆን በቅርቡ የሃይማኖት ህግ ወይም ሴኩላሪዝም ሎ ለማውጣት ግብዓት የማሰባሰብ ስራ እያካሄደ ነው የሚገኘው። እምነት ለገነት ብቻ ሳይሆን ገነት ከመሄዳችን በፊት እዚህ በምንኖርበት ዓለም ውስጥ ቁልፍ ሚና ያለው በሰላም ግንባታ በእድገት የተለያየ ሚና እንዳለው መንግስታችን በቅጡ ይገነዘባል። ለዚህም ልዩ ቦታ ሰጥቶ እምነቶችን እያከበረ እምነቶች ሲጠናከሩ የእምነት ተቋማት ሲጠናከሩ ሀገር ትጠነክራለች፣ ጠንካራ ሀገረ መንግስት ይመሰረታል የሚል ቁልፍ እና ጽኑ እምነት ስላለው እምነቶች ጋር ያሉትን መከፋፈል የሚመስሉ ጉዳዮችን በልዩነት ተፈቶ ጠንካራ የተቋም ባለቤት እንዲሆኑ በማድረግ ከመንግስት በተለለ ክቡር ጠቅላይ ሚኒስትሩ በልዩ ሁኔታ ከኢትዮጵያ ኦርቶዶክስ ሃይማኖት አባቶች ጋራ ከኢትዮጵያ እስልምና እምነት አባቶች ጋራ እንደዚሁም ከወንጌላውያን አባቶች ጋራ በጋራ በመሆን ጠንካራ ተቋማት እንዲፈጠሩ ቁልፍ ሚና ቁልፍ ተግባር ቁልፍ ስራ እየሰራ ይገኛል። በዚህ አጋጣሚ ለመንግስታችን ልዩ ክብር አለንና እናንተም የእምነት አባቶች በዚህ አጋጣሚ እንደው ምስጋና ብታቀርቡ በታላቅ አክብሮት ጠይቃችኋለሁ። በመጨረሻም እዚህ የመጣችሁባት ኢትዮጵያ በጣም በመታምረው አዲስ አበባ የሁለት ቀን ቆይታችሁ በተለይ guests from all over the world በጣም ያማረ ደስ ያለ ቆይታችሁ ደስ የሚል ከኢትዮጵያውያን ትምህርት የምትወስዱበትና ይሄ ውይይት እስካሁን የተገኙትን ድሎች የበለጠ በሰላም ለማስጌድ በጣም ተጨማሪ ሐሳቦች ይገኙበታል ብለን እናምናለን። ያማረ ደስ የሚል ቆይታ እንዲሆንላችሁ እመኛለሁ። ገለቶማ Let me now deliver my speech briefly in English. Excellencies, the patrons of Interreligious Council of Ethiopia, Excellencies, religious leaders, His Excellency Qasis Tagai Taddele, Secretary General to Interreligious Council of Ethiopia, His Excellency Professor Cole, Founding Director for International Center for Law and Religious Studies at Brigham Young University and President of G20 International Interfaith Forum, Her Excellency Nicole, Vice President and Chief Relations Officer to Sterling Foundation, Excellencies, representatives of EU Chairperson, Excellencies, ambassadors, diplomats, all protocols observed. A very warm good morning and welcome to Ethiopia. Esteemed guests, religious leaders, peace builders, all advocates for a more just and peaceful world. I am honored to stand before you today as this important gathering, co-organized by the Interreligious Council of Ethiopia, the United Religious Initiative, URI Africa, the G20 Interfaith Forum Association, the African Union Interfaith Dialogue Forum. I extend my deepest gratitude to these esteemed organizations, along with all other dedicated partners who have made this conference possible. We stand, ladies and gentlemen and the excellencies, we stand at a crossroads. The winds of change are upon us, marked by a climate in crisis, democratic institutions under strain, the yearning for societies where human dignity and rights are the cornerstone of policy and action. It is in this very moment that the mandate and work of religious peace building shines ever brighter. For generations, faith communities have served as anchors of peace. They have fostered dialogue, bridged divides, offered solace in times of hardship. Today, this call is more urgent than ever. The climate crisis threatens the very foundation of our societies, displacing people and jeopardizing resources. Democracies, once beacons of hope, face challenges that erode trust and stability. And the dream of just societies, where every individual is valued and empowered, seems ever more distant. Yet, in the middle of these challenges, there is reason for hope. Religious peace building offers a powerful path forward. It leverages the moral authority of faith to bridge divides, promote empathy, inspire collective action for a green legacy that secures sustainable peace. Faith communities have a unique capacity to speak to the hearts and minds of people, fostering understanding, cooperation across ethnic, cultural, social, and environmental divides. Here in Ethiopia, we have witnessed firsthand the transformative power of religious peace building. The Ethiopian government, in collaboration with the Minister of Peace, has taken exemplary action in this regard. They have established interfaith councils that bring together religious leaders from diverse traditions to address human challenges, including the critical issue of environmental stewardship. These councils have played a crucial role in promoting peace and reconciliation, particularly in conflict-affected regions, while simultaneously advocating for the importance of planting trees, conserving water, and protecting natural resources. Ethiopia's recent Green Legacy Initiative, a nationwide tree planting campaign, exemplifies the powerful link between religious peace building and environmental action. Faith leaders have been instrumental in mobilizing communities, emphasizing the connection between a healthy environment and a peaceful society. This initiative not only combats deforestation, but also fosters a sense of shared purpose and collective responsibility for the future. Dear Excellencies, the Ministry of Peace further strengthens this crucial work by facilitating religious dialogue efforts at both the national and regional levels. These dialogues bring together religious leaders from across the spectrum to discuss pressing issues, foster understanding, and promote peaceful coexistence among all members of society. This dedication is interfaith operation is truly commendable. For their unwavering support in making these vital dialogues possible, I would like to extend my deepest gratitude to the Sterling Foundation. Their unreserved financial support has been instrumental in creating a platform for religious leaders to come together, build trust, and work collaboratively towards a more peaceful and sustainable Ethiopia. Building on this strong foundation, the Ethiopian government is taking a significant step towards by exploring the introduction of religious law. This law aims to assure peaceful coexistence, tolerance, equality among different religious followers, further strengthening the delicate balance within a religious diverse nation. It also seeks to harmonize religious matters with the principles of federalism, ensuring respect for the autonomy of religious institutions while upholding the Ethiopian constitution. This proposed law is currently under careful review, with the Ethiopian government hosting multiple consultative workshops to gather feedback from religious leaders, legal experts, and various stakeholders across society. This inclusive approach ensures that the final law reflects the needs and concerns of all Ethiopians. These religious-based peace-building efforts directly contribute to the African Union's, I quote, silencing the gun, quote, agenda by addressing the root cause of conflict. In this regard, religious leaders often have deep community ties and understand the underlying grievances that fuel conflict. And by fostering dialogue and promoting tolerance, they can help address these root causes and prevent violence from erupting. The proposed law will also help us promote social cohesion. In this regard, faith communities can play a vital role in building bridges between different groups and fostering a sense of shared identity. Hence, this cohesion is essential for sustainable peace. Thirdly, the law will provide moral authority. In this regard, religious leaders can lend their moral authority to the cause of peace, encouraging communities to renounce violence and hate speech and embrace peaceful conflict resolution. Fourth, it will also legitimize peace processes. In this regard, we believe that faith-based organizations can be valuable partners in peace negotiations and reconciliation efforts, and hence their involvement can help legitimize these processes and ensure they are inclusive of all stakeholders. The Ethiopian government's effort, along with similar initiatives across Africa, can serve as a powerful example of how religion-based peace building can contribute to a continent free from scourge of armed conflict. However, the work is far from over. We must strive to deepen interfaith collaboration. In this regard, let's create platform for religious leaders to share best practices, exchange knowledge, and develop joint initiative for peace building and environmental stewardship. Let's also struggle to address climate change. In this regard, we believe that faith communities must be at the forefront of advocating for sustainable practices and promoting environmental stewardship. Let's also strive to empower the very productive part of our demography, which are the youth. Let's empower them. Let's equip young people with the tools and resources they need to be agents of peace and environmental action within their communities and beyond. Let us also strive to promote just policies. Here, religious leaders have a moral imperative to advocate for policies that uphold human rights, address inequalities, promote social justice while safeguarding the environment for future generations. As we move forward, let's draw inspiration from the wisdom of our faith traditions and our shared responsibility for the earth. With respecting the golden rule that the children recite for us, just allow me to quote from the Quran and the Hadith. And let's remember two quotes about peace and justice by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I quote, "The servants of the most merciful are those who walk upon the earth easily, and when the ignorant address them harshly, they say words of peace." Surah Al-Quran 25:63. And in the Hadith Al-Bukhari, Allah will not be merciful to those who are not merciful to humankind. Together, through interfaith cooperation, we can transform this vision into reality. We can build bridges of understanding, cultivate a culture of peace, and create just societies where every person can live with dignity, hope, and leaving a green legacy for a sustainable future. I wish you a pleasant stay in this beautiful and African capital, Addis Ababa. I thank you. Galatom ma shukran. Amasagnallah.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Indeed, faith communities have the opportunity to speak to the heart of individuals so that they can be able to promote social justice effectively.
እናመሰግናለን ክቡር ዶክተር ከረን ተዘራ የኢፌዴሪ የሰላም ሚኒስቴር የሰላም ሚኒስትር ዴኤታ ናቸው። ሁሉን መልእክት እጅግ በጣም እናመሰግናለን። ከዚህ በመቀጠል የዚህ ሀገራዊ ዓለም አቀፋዊ ኮንፈረንስ ዓላማዎችን በተመለከተ አጫጭር መልእክቶች ይቀርባሉ።
So at this moment, we are going to delve into the objectives of this workshop. And who other than Catherine Marshall, our sister, who is the Vice President of the Interfaith Forum, and also the Executive Director of World Faith Development Dialogue from the United States. You're welcome.
እናመሰግናለን። የጂ20 ኢንተርፌስ ፎረም አሶሲዬሽን ኤክስኪዩቲቭ ዳይሬክተር ናቸው። ስለዚህ የፕሮግራሙን ዓላማ ያብራሩልናል ማለት ነው። በመቀጠል ወደሚቀጥሉት ፕሮግራሞች እናልፋለን።
My mission today is first to add my welcome, my gratitude, and all protocols observed. My personal joy in being back in Ethiopia after a long time gives me great pleasure. So my questions, the questions I'm trying to address are, why G20? Why faith? Why interfaith? Why the AU? And why Africa? And in doing so, trace a journey that has brought us to April 2024 in Addis Ababa, and this conference, which takes place during an extraordinarily turbulent and challenging time for us all. So first, the G20. The G20 is part of the global governance system. It was created in 1999 with a crisis mandate, and in some sense, we're now living in a mega crisis or a perma-crisis. So in that sense, the G20 has a continuing mandate and agenda. And it had an especially critical role in 2008-2009.
የበለጠ አካታች የሆነበት ምክንያት ለምንድነው? አንዳንዶች ጂቱ ይሉታል ጂ1 ከጀነራል አሴምብሊው ልክ በቀላሉ ለማስተዳደር ይቀላል አነስ ያለ በመሆኑ በቪቶ አይመራም እንደ ሴኩሪቲ ካውንስሉ በአመታት ደግሞ ስልጣኑ
crisis management to the full Sustainable Development Goal agenda, and thus the full agenda that we call it. It has some advantages, which include the rotating chairmanship. It has no secretariat, and it has in 2024 Brazil as the host and the president. And the leaders, everything is building now towards the meeting of leaders in November 2024. So that's why we have focused on the G20 as one of the powerful instruments within the global governance system. So today's G20 includes a large and rather complex constellation that includes the member states, of course, their leadership, but also engagement groups for different constituencies that include 13 different engagement groups, youth, business, civil society, etc., but also ministerials and also special task forces, for example, to deal with corruption and with trafficking and with food issues. Those are part of the G20 process. But throughout its history, there has been one absent partner, which has been the community of religious leaders, religious actors of many kinds, who play such critical roles. This is, in some sense, a gap in the global governance system, inclusion of religious voices. And that is where the G20 Interfaith comes in. The G20 Interfaith Forum has operated since 2014, in other words, a 10-year anniversary. It first assembled and met in Australia in 2014, and it has grown and expanded since from what was, to a large extent, an academic, intellectual, bipartisan effort of the G20 to a body whose ambition is to bring the distinctive efforts of a network of networks of religious actors into the G20 process, and thus into the global agenda-setting process. From the beginning of the G20, from 1999, there has been a clear recognition that Africa had, compared with its importance, both in G20 affairs and generally, a very small voice. South Africa is the only African state that has been a member of the G20, and that has led to the continuing effort to broaden Africa's role and Africa's agenda, and therefore the exciting new step where the African Union is a full member of the G20, and therefore represents and carries the voice, the concerns, the hopes, the dreams, and the anger of African communities in global affairs. So Africa clearly is vital, and the G20 is conscious of that. And we're seeing in 2020 a host of issues that have particular concern for Africa. The issues of peace that we have just heard about, the issues of forced migration, the issues of violence within communities, issues of hunger, the enormous humanitarian needs that face Africa today, all of the issues of the rainforest, the issue of changing climate, drought, floods, etc. All of those are high on the global agenda, but have particular significance for Africa. So in this conference, we are guided, and we'll hear more from my colleague Rodrigo Alves in a moment, by Brazil's agenda for 2024, which, to put it very simply, is about poverty and hunger, about sustainability, including action on climate, and on the global governance structures and their injustices and the ideas of where they will move. With that, what we hope to bring is the distinctive and priority agendas of religious communities. And many of these are very clear. Action on Africa's debt burdens, action on the hunger and humanitarian needs, action for youth, action for women. All of these are part of the interreligious agendas that we've heard described earlier today. So we come to this conference with great hope in a listening mode to hear and to understand the priority issues for this extraordinary, enormous continent whose needs and whose dreams and whose potential are so much at the forefront of what we will see for the global agenda in the future. So thank you.
Thank you, Sister Catherine, for highlighting what the G20 and it is, and also its history, where it started from South Africa. Now we have the whole of the African Union. I think we should clap for ourselves. We've moved from somewhere. I would also want to implore everyone to put away a little bit your phones and listen, because the meeting is beginning to even be exciting, and I can see all of you on your phones, and yet we are going to hear very important messages, and I don't want you to miss those ones.
እናመሰግናለን። በመቀጠል ተጨማሪ የኮንፈረንሱን ኦብጀክቲቭ በተመለከተ መልእክት ይቀርባል። ፕሮፌሰር ሮድሪጎ አልቬስ ቼር ኦፍ G20 ኢንተርፌስ ፎረም የብራዚል ኮሚቴ የኢንተርፌስ ፎረም ሊቀመንበር ናቸው። እሳቸው ያቀርቡልናል።
Yes, we are going to have Professor Rodrigo, the chair of the G20 Interfaith Forum from Brazil. He is also an associate professor for Faculty of Law of the Federal University of Uberlândia, Brazil. You're most welcome.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure and honor to join this important gathering in this vibrant, beautiful capital of Ethiopia. This is a unique opportunity and a momentous occasion for dialogue and collaboration among various groups and sectors from different parts of Africa and the world. Religious communities and interfaith actors have an important role to play in the promotion of peaceful coexistence, human dignity, development, preservation of environment, and to counter hate speech, violence, and xenophobia. These issues are closely related with the Brazilian priorities for the G20. The Brazilian presidency of the G20 started in 2023, and since then the G20 Interfaith Forum have been looking for ways to contribute to the advancement of the agenda proposed by the Brazilian government. Its vision is to build a just world and a sustainable planet, focusing on three priorities: social inclusion and the fight against hunger and poverty, energy transitions and the promotion of sustainable development, and reform of global governance institutions. As a group of the largest world economies, which now includes the African Union, the G20 has the responsibility to contribute to the mitigation of the existential challenges and complex issues humanity is currently facing. Distinguished participants, religious actors from the global south, in particular from Africa and Latin America, are in a special position to bring to the G20 process perspectives from our shared history, experiences, and interests. The discussions and reflections at these events can certainly contribute to advance the priorities of the G20 Brazilian presidency, which has adopted an inclusive approach to engage civil society through the G20 Social in a consultative capacity. The G20 interfaith process in Brazil gladly welcomes the African interfaith and intercultural views to promote peace, justice, human rights, and sustainable development. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Rodrigo, for that welcome. Yeah.
Okay, ከዚህ በመቀጠል የሁለቱ ያቀረቡልን የኮንፈረንሱን ዓላማ ያይዘው ነው። የጂ20 ኢንተርፌስ ፎረም የቀጣይ አዘጋጅ ብራዚል ነች። ስለዚህ የብራዚል ተወካይ መልእክቱን ያቀረቡልን ከዚህ ዝግጅት አንፃር ነው። በመቀጠል የሪፍሌክሽንስ ወይም የባለፉት አመታትና አሁን ደግሞ ያለው መድረኩ ምን ይመስላል የሚለውን ሪፍሌክሽን ይሆናል የምንሰማው። የተለያዩ የሃይማኖት መሪዎች እና የእምነት መሪዎች ባላቸው እንትን ላይ የራሳቸውን ነጸብራቅ ወይም ሪፍሌክሽን ያደርጋሉ ማለት ነው። ከዚህ በመቀጠል ዶክተር ዶዋሊ ዋሮ ዘካሪያ ቸርፐርሰን አፍሪካ ዩኒየን ኢንተርፌት ዲያሎግ ፎረም ስትሪንግ ኮሚቴ ነው። የአፍሪካ ህብረት የዲያሎግ ፎረም ቸርፐርሰን ተው ንግግር ያደርጉልናል። እሳቸውን እንሰማለን።
So this is our last session for this morning, and we can't go without having reflections from our esteemed leaders. And before, the first one to do that is Chief Dr. Dolly Vura, who is the chairperson, African Union Interfaith Dialogue Forum Steering Committee, Minister of Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs of Ghana.
It is humbling, Excellencies, distinguished guests. I stand on all existing protocols. Good morning, esteemed colleagues. It is indeed a privilege to address you today in the vibrant city of Addis Ababa, the political capital of Africa. As we gather to commemorate the golden rule